The life consultants, I think we're one of the greatest programs that the military offers. We are all master's or doctoral prepared counselors, social workers, or psychologists. We're here to help you with deployment and integration issues, family issues, stress management, anger management, couples counseling. We can do it. I have an office in the 4th Brigade headquarters. I am in the same area across from the CQ desk where the chaplain's office is. However, I also know that some people are not comfortable coming there. So I have nooks and crannies all over the footprint of Fort Bragg, as well as the ability to meet with life consultants off-site in coffee houses, Starbucks, Barnes & Noble. You call me and we will make it work. My hours are generally Monday through Friday from 8 in the morning till 8 at night. However, with the upcoming deployment, I'll be monitoring my phone in the evenings and over the weekends. Any questions about what we do? We're free, confidential, no records, no names, counseling and consultation.
All right, we talked about a bunch of benefits, some things to take advantage of, and also got some guidance on for emergency leave and leave policies, all right? But how does this all come together? If you've got a family issue, how are you going to solve that issue, and how are you going to get that message to your spouse, okay? So like, if you have a son or daughter or something and they're just acting out, and they can't control them, they're in high school, maybe they're looking like they're going to get expelled, or something like that. You already saw the guidance, right? That's not going to bring your spouse back, okay? We always want to try to solve these things at the lowest level, right? And that's probably also a type of situation that you want to put forward through normal correspondence that you have with your spouse, right? In other situations when maybe you need some more care for that child, you become ill, you want to involve the FRG so we can get support. You also want to let the rear detachment know so that they can get that message forward to your spouse. In many instances, the rear detachment, if we have direct communications with the unit forward, we'll be able to get that message to them a lot faster, okay? Now, when you have like we talked about for immediate family death or serious illness, that's an emergency, right? So that's something you're going to want to send through a Red Cross message that gets the visibility of your command, right? There's certain actions that have to be taken. It's got to be reported back that that message has been sent to that spouse through Red Cross channels, all right? But you also want to let your rear detachment command know that you're sending that message, all right? It's going to get that message to your spouse sooner, as well as it's a double check. These are some things that you can prepare ahead of time, so in case of emergency, you don't have to deal with it, all right? And Captain Gross is going to talk a little bit more about the legal implications of care with your family, and also for your Red Cross message. All the information you need to provide a Red Cross message, go to the American Red Cross website, click on Emergency Services, to provide you all that information you need to have at your fingertips.
My name is Captain Andy Gross. I'm the Chief of Legal Assistance over at Division. We're in Gavin Hall. I've probably worked with some of you in the past. I am a real live attorney, okay, in addition to being an Army officer. So I do know a little bit about what I talk about. In that regard, when doing a power of attorney, we have to be really, really, really careful with these documents. A power of attorney allows someone to do business on your behalf. So when you pick up this power of attorney, you fill it out, you just don't want to give it to anybody, okay? You want to give it to a spouse you trust, parent, brother or sister. I say you trust because we've seen it happen. So with that regard, think of who you trust to take over your affairs while you're downrange. You can't always do your online banking from Afghanistan. So you may need someone to take a bank power of attorney. Now the one that is most appropriate to our current situation is the guardianship power of attorney, also known as an in loco parentis power of attorney, Those of us who are teachers or who are big fans of the Latin language, I'm neither, know what that means is that basically it means in the parent's place. What that does is it allows a person who is not the legal guardian to take the child and sign for the parents for things like the hospital, as maybe Carol mentioned, or schooling, pick them up from school, and so on and so forth. It's a great document to have to keep at home, or come into our office and we can fill it out, and we can notarize it right there. Some other issues that might come up, people don't want to talk about it, but it's the last will and testament. If you're married, you have kids, maybe you have a blended family, and by blended family I mean, maybe you had kids from previous relationship. You want to think about how to take care of them if you were to pass away downrange, or really in general. Right? We like to take sort of a top-down approach to this, and we call this estate planning. It's something you ought to think about if you're married, if you have kids, or if you're leaving your possessions to someone else. If you're single like me, where your greatest asset is your 3-year-old laptop, it's probably not that big of a deal. But if you have other people you're taking care of, it is a big deal, and you should think about it. With that said, Colonel Menace mentioned the Service Member Civil Relief Act. Prior to 2004, it was actually the Soldiers and Sailors Relief Act. So a lot of people still think of it as the Soldiers and Sailors Relief Act. But I guess the Air Force got jealous, so they called it the Service Member Civil Relief Act. That gives us a lot of benefits, and the key to that is planning ahead. If you want to break your lease before you deploy, that's not something you can do on the way to the green ramp and say, listen, I'm packing up my stuff and I'm not paying rent anymore. You really got to plan ahead on that, and I have some pamphlets on that. We have lots of great information papers over at Gavin Hall. I didn't bring them all with me, and I apologize for that, but there's a lot of good information out there that we have. And a lot of things, a lot of this about being in the Army is knowing where to find the information. The legal issues, come to us. It's a free service. We're here to help.
Good evening. My name is Louis Burgess. I'm from the Casualty Assistance Office. And I'm going to talk to you for a minute or two in reference to DD-93s and SGLVs, or SGLIs. The DD-93 is the most important document that I think that you can have, that you prepare in the Army. What dictates the DD-93? Everything. From your family members, your kids, the address to your spouse, to your kids, Social Security numbers are in there. Your father, your mother, where to locate your father and your mother. It also deals with who you select to be the person in charge in case that something happens to you. And we never expect it to happen, but it could happen. Now, what we are talking about, there's an area says in there that says PADD, P-A-D-D, person authorized direct disposition. That is the person that you have, you enter the name in there, and the relationship to you. It must be a family member. It must be a family member. And that person is the one that is going to be in charge of all your funeral arrangements. Okay? There's an area in there that deals with unpaid allowances. That means that if something happens to you, that person is going to receive back from the Army 12 months of your, it's called BAH now, sir? Your BAH, when I was in the service, was BAQ. Now they changed it for basic allowance for housing. 12 months of BAH is going to receive your leave pay, your salary, that whatever happens from the time that you was working to the time that something happened, all that comes to that person that you select to be the person that is going to receive. You also have about your kids, how you want to break it down. There's a remarks column in there. As you see on the page to the right, as you look at that form, there's a remarks column in there. For example, if your mother has a bad heart and you don't want someone to go to your mother's house, you can put in there, please contact my father before you talk to my mother. Things like that. But the DD-93 is very, I can stop talking about it. It's very important. How many of you have done casualty assistance officer's duty here? I know I saw a couple of you. And I thank you for it. And you know what I'm talking about, dealing with DD-93, because you have to talk to these folks. The other form is the SGLB. The SGLB also on the DD-93, I want to get ahead of myself. You have a column in there that talks about death gratuity. Death gratuity is $100,000 that we give you 72 hours once we receive that report. The casualty assistance officer comes to you, you give them a void check, you sign the piece of paper, we submit it to finance, and it's delivered to your bank account within 72 hours. And that's to assist you in the event that you have any expenses and you are short of funds. It is not to pay for the funeral or nothing like that, because we take care of that. Department of the Army will pay for bringing him in and making sure that he has an honored funeral. That will take care of that. Now, on the SGLB deals with the insurance. The SGLB is $400,000, and you have to select, and please, they talk about sit down and talk about it. I'm going to tell you real fast. My grandson is in the first BCT, and his platoon leader came to me and says, you know, we deployed. I said, mm-hmm. And he said, well, you know, we're going to Afghanistan. I said, mm-hmm. I said, sir, please stop. Once you put that uniform on, there's a lot of things that comes with that uniform. And part of that is defend the station. I told the lieutenant, and he knew what I was talking about. I spent about 6 months in the Army, so I knew where he was going to. But we have to sit down and we have to talk. That blue book that she mentioned, please, please sit down with your spouse, with your father, with your mother, with your uncle, with whoever it is, and go through it, because it specifies there exactly what you want, to include what you want to wear, where you want your kids to happen. I can tell you stories, but I don't have the time for that. But we are located on the Soldier Support Center on the 2nd floor, room 272.
Okay, all these things that we've been talking about are going to lead up to something right here, is where we're going to go through some scenarios. Okay, from forward, I'm receiving informal notification. All right, that's going to start the process as far as any kind of support that we have to provide to that family. Now, this is just a return to duty, but it's still an injury, right? Now, if possible, that service member is going to conduct that notification himself, right? But I'm also, when I get that notification, I'm talking to that battalion rear detachment commander, right? So that he can then look at the DD-93, look at the FRG contact information, so he ensures that he has the most up-to-date information. And then he's going to do a phone call, regardless of if that service member calls his spouse and says, hey, I'm injured, but I'm okay, I'm going to recover. We're still going to do that phone call to follow up in case there's some assistance that's needed by that family, right? We also want to provide updated status as needed on that soldier, okay? So we're going to go into the next scenario. The brigade surgeon is going to talk about a more severe injury situation.